Okay, this is the third attempt to make this video. I've had two shutdowns because I was scrolling around showing you other things on the internet, and that's dangerous with this particular software because what ends up happening is my software shuts down, freezes up the computer, so I can't navigate. So this is my third attempt, and I'll just get right to the content here, which is Sam, the general manager report. And let me remind you, none of these people here care about us. All the people that are in TRIMET, all the executives are careerists. They care about their careers. All of the people on the board that's a status job. They don't actually govern anything. They do what they're told by the general manager. They put their stamp on it and pretend that it's like, okay, public has had its say. Well, we've seen how many examples of the public's testimony being thrown out the window. So there's no public input. This is a crime syndicate, and there's no input from the public on here at all. So let's hear what Sam has to say, the top dog currently,
On a couple of things. One, introducing to you two of our newest members of TRIMET Executive Leadership Team. We will bring you up to speed.
The leadership team, Rippy!
On our COVID-19 response. I will briefly review our December ridership. We will preview the second annual Rosa Parks Day coming up next week. We will give an update on temporary service reductions that began earlier this month. And then we will share with you a big milestone for our electronic fare.
Look at how he's smiling over there. I mean, they just, it's such a tragedy. TRIMET really is a tragedy. I just got done listening to the calls. It's a true tragedy what's going on the system. And here are these people. Look at her. Look at this dumbass smile on her. These people are so disconnected. It's so frustrating to watch this. It's like listening to Trudeau say, those truck drivers are a slim minority of crazies that don't represent. These people are professional liars. They just lie to our face and think we're all stupid and believe it. I mean, it's a shit show. You've screwed up your system. If we had a society that actually mattered about success and failure, Sam would be fired. But that's not how it works. The people in charge never fire themselves. They give themselves raises. The worse they do, the more they give themselves.
Fare system, our Hop Fast Pass. And then finally, we will take you on a tour of our new and improved TRIMET.org website. So let me...
yeah, it's improved all right. You should see all the complaints on Twitter about it. So yeah, remember when we're watching, it's all scripted. Nothing negative is allowed. No negativity allowed at all. It's rah rah, shish boom bah. TRIMET is the best. This is what these meetings are all about. They're not real, is what I'm trying to say. It's just like watching a Jen Psaki news conference. She's not going to say anything that makes her stupid senile boss look bad. He's not going to say anything that makes TRIMET look bad. None of his minions will say anything that will make TRIMET look bad. None of the board will say anything that will make TRIMET look bad. It's all scripted garbage.
Let me start off by saying that we are fortunate to begin 2022 with two new members of our executive leadership team. So please join me.
And TRIMET, the executive leadership team, is basically irrelevant to everybody in Portland. The drivers, the riders, they're nothings. Okay, the technocracy is really not necessary, but it's built itself in. It's part of the parasite culture. The culture of parasites, where we have parasites that live off the rest of us, and that's what all of these people really are. Sorry to say. I mean, they don't add anything to the system. The system's in shambles.
And welcoming Bonnie Todd as our TRIMET Chief Operating Officer, and Andrew Wilson as TRIMET's Executive Director of Safety and Security. So let me talk a little bit about Bonnie first.
Okay, let's hear it.
Bonnie hit the ground running back on December 30th and has now been with us a whole whopping 28 days. She brings more than 30 years of transportation industry experience to the role with perspectives from both the East and West Coast. Bonnie is exceptionally happy to be here at TRIMET and back in the Pacific Northwest. She spent part of her career with Sound Transit up in Seattle as the Chief Operating Officer. Bonnie is also a United States Marine Corps veteran.
Oh, God.
So I just want to tell Bonnie.
Another goddamn military person. Military worship, man. Go invade Ukraine.
Welcome aboard, and thank you for being here with us. And if she's up there, she could just wave to the board.
Talk to us, Bonnie. Come on.
There she is. All right.
Oh, she's not going to.
I would also.
She's not going to say anything. Huh? Great.
I'd like to congratulate Andrew Wilson on his promotion to Executive Director of Safety and Security. Andrew has been with TRIMET since 2016 and previously worked as the Director of Risk Management.
Oh, great.
Andrew has a demonstrated record of providing excellent leadership and direction in risk and crises management. We're thrilled to have him in his new role. So welcome aboard, Andrew, as the new ED of Safety and Security. And if you're there, wave so that the board can see you as well.
Yeah, nice promotions for you. All six-figure executives. Basically, they don't do anything. They go to meetings all day. They don't actually do anything that's of value.
Great. So, congratulations and welcome to both of you. So, turning now to COVID-19. Board President Simmons, I really wish that I had better news to provide you. But in January, it's been extremely impactful with the pandemic across the nation, here in Oregon, and at TRIMET. That's due in part to employees reporting positive COVID tests, needing to quarantine, and then kids returning to remote learning in many school districts. We've had employees report more positive.
Let me read one of the tweets I just read here. 2 weeks to flatten the curve became 2 years to flatten the working class. And that's exactly what happened. And it was all intentional. All of this was intentional. None of this was by accident. All of this was engineered. It's unfortunate for us that so many people have been psyoped to go along with this fucking baloney.
Positive tests this month than any other time during the pandemic. We are well over 150 COVID positive tests.
Yeah, and it's Omicron, by the way, and you know you're gonna get people arguing about this. I mean, the whole COVID is just complete shit show. You know, all they needed to do from the very start was to make sure everybody had KN95 masks. That's all they needed to do in the very beginning. Just everybody have a K95 mask. And this stuff could have been kept under control, but that's not what they did. They did the exact opposite. They locked everybody down. They stole all the money, gave it to the rich. The rich ripped us off. These technocrats all got to stay home, got their full pay. Meanwhile, the citizens are battling each other in the streets. It's been nothing but a giant scam. And this Omicron, I listened to John Campbell, and I've listened to everybody. He's the best out there. He's on YouTube, John. This is very mild compared to the Delta. There's no way you're going to get rid of. There's no way to get rid of this shit. Okay, it's going to be here forever. So the old idea, this whole thing is just a way to destroy society. And I'm so sorry that so many people don't understand how they're being played on here. And all of these psychopaths that are in these technocracies are working together to destroy us and get the vaccine. Well, we've been doing the vaccines, and they haven't done shit, have they? Here in Massachusetts, half the people in the hospital are fully vaccinated. That's half.
For just the month of January. However, though, we are grateful that the majority of the cases are not as severe as they may.
That's the Omicron variant. It does. The reason that's the way it is because the Omicron variant does not go down into the lungs. It stays in the upper respiratory tract, which is why it's not so severe. The Delta went down in the lungs and it smothered people. This stuff is not doing that.
May have been earlier in the pandemic and before vaccines were available.
And the vaccines, you know, you can argue about them all day, but they've had limited. Look, I don't want to get into vaccines, but it really hasn't worked very well, has it? Okay, I'm sure the majority of people, they've turned it around to make it look like the unvaccinated are creating this, but that's nothing but a lie. You're being psyoped on every level when it comes to this. It's unfortunate so many people have fallen for it, but it's easy to fool people. I mean, our society is hopelessly easy to brainwash.
I will tell you that I'm encouraged that among our employees who've experienced symptoms so far this month, we've learned of no hospitalizations at this time.
Right.
We continue to encourage employees to get fully vaccinated against COVID-19, including a booster shot.
It doesn't fucking stop you from getting the COVID. Oh, but it stopped you from being so sick. No, it doesn't. Sorry, you've been scammed. But believe what you want. I mean, everybody's, you know, there's either you're in one of two camps. You're suffering vaccine derangement syndrome, which means you hate everybody that's not vaccinated and you're part of a cult, or you're a skeptic like me that knows that they're liars, cheaters, and thieves that are pushing this on us. The big pharma is our criminal companies without morals. It's all for profit, and we know for sure that rich people will kill you for profit.
If they are eligible, really to help protect themselves and those around them.
That doesn't work. She just lied. Doesn't protect the people around you. If you're scared about getting COVID, you get the shot to protect you. It does not protect the people around you. You can still transmit the disease to everybody around you. Stop lying. I wish they could stop lying for 1 minute.
You are likely to be aware of the Supreme Court struck down the Biden administration's vaccinate or test requirement for large employers.
Yeah, they struck it down. Like how long did it take them? 3 months or something, however long it was. They waited a long time. This is all, you're being played there too. You're being played there. Of course, it didn't, you know, you have like people like Mayor Wu demanding all of her employees get it. You know, you've lost your, you know, when the government can mandate that you inject yourself with something, you're lost. You know, if this was such an awful pandemic, people would be lining up to get this. But it's, you know, how many people do you know that have died from COVID? I only know one. That was my mother. And she was very old and infirm. I don't know anybody else that has got. No, I do. Jason got it just now. But he's okay. He got the Omicron version. He was pretty sick for a few days. You know, he would get up and he would be dizzy. But he's okay now, so he recovered. And he was fully vaccinated, by the way.
In reviewing the brief, TRIMET's legal team found that the courts decided that the vaccine mandate was prohibited because it exceeded the scope of the federal OSHA's regulatory authority.
Of course it does.
However, they said it remains possible that other local, state, and federal authorities could create their own mandates. It's also...
Yeah, why don't you mandate it, Sam, and make... You know, it's another way they're destroying civil society, is they're mandating a shot, and so the people that don't comply, maybe there's 10% won't comply with this. So they ruin their systems even more. Most people comply because, you know, people don't stand up for themselves. They do what they're told. They're nice little serfs. Most people survive the shots fine. You know, not that it does you any real good, but...
legal for employers like TRIMET to mandate vaccines or either tests for employees, though that is not the step that we have chosen at this time here. Our virus leadership team...
The virus leadership team! Fuck you!
...considering and discussing options with stakeholders, including...
See how awful... You're stuck with these like royalists. You don't get any say in this. They're going to sit around a table, these fucking pieces of shit assholes, Sam and stupid technocrats, and they're going to decide what you're going to do, and you don't get a voice in it. So you're nothing but a fucking slave to these motherfuckers.
Oregon OSHA, and then we'll report back with new developments as we proceed forward. So moving on to ridership for December of 2020.
You know, if you look at Israel, the most vaccinated country in the world, they got the most COVID cases. Africa's had no vaccines. And why do they have such low COVID cases? Anybody ever thought about that? Africa's not wiped out. They've never had a vaccine. They're not all dead. You'd think half of Africa would be dead. No, they're not. Why is that? Anybody thinking about that? Of course not, because you're Americans. You don't think for yourself.
In December, TRIMET provided just under 4 million rides
4 million
on buses, Max, West, and Lyft. Ridership was about 51% of where it was in December of 2019 prior to the COVID pandemic, and 26% higher than December of last year. So this is welcome news for us as we continue to journey forward in 2022.
Yeah, welcome news. You're never going to get your ridership back when you've cut your service. You've cut yourself. You've screwed yourself out of your own ridership. You've cut the service, and so you've made it even worse for people to ride it. And of course, they're not going to talk about that. No, they're going to skip over it.
Members of the board, thank you. Last year, you took a large step to create a lasting tribute to Rosa Parks. A refusal to relinquish her seat on a public...
Yeah, like this is important. This doesn't mean anything, okay? I mean, it doesn't mean anything to the everyday riders or the drivers. Oh, yeah, so some historical event. But why do you bring this up here? This, you know, why do they care? What does the board have to do with that?
Bus caused the 1955-56 Montgomery bus boycott in Alabama, which became the spark that ignited the civil rights movement. On Friday, February 4th, the day that would have been Rosa Parks' 109th birthday, no fares will be collected on TRIMET buses or trains.
Aren't you generous?
Our partners at C-Tran and Portland Streetcar joining us in this second observance. Just as they did.
What generosity. Aren't you impressed? I sure am not.
With the first one. They've indicated that they plan to continue to set aside Rosa Parks Day every year. Just as,
of course, what we need is fare-free transit now. We need a systems change. We need a system reset. We need to. They haven't. See, this is why you're going to lose with these people in charge. They won't do anything. They won't change any of their systematic problems. You know, they're just leaving everything the way it is. They've cut your service. They've failed on every level. They even demand you pay your $250. And the only people riding transit now are the transit dependent. That's it. The lowest people on the economic scale. And TRIMET's the most regressive of transit agencies, too. They're just horrible when it comes to stuff. Like Portland is a very regressive city. You know, remember the Portland riots? They had the police were beating up. I mean, they had the police state beating the shit out of protesters. I mean, this is one of the worst places for dictatorial control is Portland. The police are Nazis. TRIMET's regressive. You're living in a very strange place over there. They pretend that there's some kind of progressive society, and the actual truth is it's the opposite.
TRIMET will. All of this is thanks to you, the board, all of you. And also would like to especially recognize Director Edwards for his leadership on this very important observance. So thank you, board. Thank you, Director Edwards, for your leadership. I would like to provide you a brief update on our temporary service reduction that began on January.
You're temporary. Don't talk about that, because unless you have a plan to bring it back and you can talk about it, it's permanent until you give us a date that you're bringing it back. And they're not going to do that. Okay.
10th. The reduction of 10% of service better matches our service levels.
No, it's 20%. See, he just lied there, too. They're back to the 20% cut from the pre-pandemic. He hadn't cut. They're back. You know, they got all this CARES money, and all that money was supposed to be to preserve service. They didn't preserve service. Who knows what they did with that money? They added bureaucrats. You know, it's all gone. Hundreds of millions of dollars they got from the federal government, and they still cut the service. It was supposed to keep the service.
With the available operators that we have currently, we will work to resolve our severe staffing shortage. The number of council buses canceled has gone down since the service reduction went in place.
Well, I'm sure it did.
However,
obviously it did. I mean, yeah. Why don't you get your goddamn leadership team a goddamn CDL and put them out there to do something useful?
Given the surge in COVID-19 this month, there have been some days where we still are missing some bus and max trips.
Some? See how he's lying? He just lies with a straight face. Some? They just can't be honest about anything. They just can't do it. It's not in their nature to be honest. They have to minimize every problem.
Absences don't necessarily mean that an operator is sick. They could be quarantining. They could be staying at home with a child that's moving to digital learning, or dealing with another type of illness, the flu or anything else, and any other type of personal matter. But we're working on that. On the hiring front, we're seeing more applications come in since announcing our $2,500 hiring bonus for new operators. Interest has picked up from some breaks that we saw over the holidays, but putting in an application is just the first step in the process. And we're finding that beyond that part, we are dealing with a very challenging hiring environment. So we're continuing our recruitment efforts and expanding our targeted areas to include more communities, both in Oregon and out of Oregon, and really exploring some additional opportunities as well, more incentives. So we'll follow back up with you as we continue to develop here. I want to take a moment to talk about our electronic fare system, our HOP Fast Pass.
See, they go in the wrong direction. Instead of making systems free and cheap, they're going the other direction, man. It's a goddamn shame.
HOP will turn 5 years old this year, and the program is making some impressive milestones. On December 22nd, 2021, the HOP system recorded its 100 million.
Who fucking cares?
Other milestones recently reached by HOP program included nearly 1.7 million unique HOP cards issued. Also, more than 500,000 accounts registered at myhopcard.com.
Yeah, that's New World Order shit, man. They keep track of you there. I mean, all of this is part of the New World Order, the Great Reset. They're going to have all of you electronic data collected on everybody, on everything you do.
Although everyone who rides automatically gets to use our HOP money-saving fare capping features with the account registration that offers additional benefits, including lost cards protection and features like auto reload. So that's the best way to take advantage of everything HOP has to offer. And we're just happy to see so many people just doing that. I heard the cat is already out of the bag on my final update this morning. The new and improved TRIMET.org website is off and running with exciting new features like real-time location information for buses and trains at your fingertips. And
it doesn't work. Okay, people are having a lot of trouble with this.
Right before your eyes.
Nobody cares.
So TriMet Manager of Digital Communications, Dave Whipple.
TriMet Manager of Digital Communications. I wonder what he does all day at home. They have all these positions of people just sitting at home getting these six-figure salaries. There he is at home. Look, he's got his guitar. What a great life they have. Nothing has been so good as COVID for the elite class. It's been the best thing that ever happened to the elite class. The worst thing that happened to the working class. It's so hard to watch this because it's so painful to watch all these people doing so well when I listen to the calls of how awful things really are for real people. And listening to this crap, this bells and whistles crap, which TriMet has always excelled at.
He's here to give us a peek inside the website and some insights from week one. Dave, can I call on you?
Yes, thank you, Sam. And good morning, board. Thank you, Director Way, for teasing this news earlier in your update. I appreciate it. And as Sam mentioned, this new website, which we launched last week, represents both a better technology and better design.
Now, why are we listening to this? I mean, why does this have anything to do with anything? Nobody cares, okay? Nobody cares about this. Talk about your shitty bus system and what you're going to do to bring back your service.
Packaged up. And we believe that combination is really going to help us serve customers better and help support ridership recovery efforts as well. So this morning, I just wanted to
do nothing for ridership recovery. Nothing. The only thing that can do anything for ridership recovery is more buses and trains, not this shit.
Here are some of the highlights of the new site and how riders and the agency stand to benefit. So next slide, please.
Crap.
First, I just want to mention our design process is centered around...
Oh, by the way, Jason McHuff or rosecitytransit.org already had all of this. Okay, one guy in a room already had the greatest tracker you need. Okay. He didn't need a whole bunch of six-figure executives to come up with this. He did it on his own.
Users. So as such, we are mindful of solving for our customers' top tasks. And by that, I mean, what do most people come to our site to do? Well, we know that the vast majority of them, 95% or more, come for our trip tools, as represented here. And nearly 3/4 of that website traffic is people accessing TRIMET.org on their phones. So our design and our development, multimodal,
but coming.
I don't care about any of that.
Or a bike town bike share. The search tool I mentioned is improved. You can now search for pretty much any business name, much like Google.
It's bells and whistles. Nobody gives a fuck about
my personal favorite,
this.
You can add a shortcut icon to your home screen on your phone so that it opens in full weeks ahead and based on customer feedback. And overall, we're really excited to have this new tool in our toolkit to help the agency better serve riders and attract new ones. Thank you.
Garbage.
Thank you. Dave, congratulations.
It's nothing but a filler. It's nothing but feel-good filler nonsense crap, that kind of shit you get from these board meetings.
To you and your team here. Also want to say congratulations to Marjan Savita and Ethan Benetan and the IT division for coming together with you and really moving us forward here over these last 6 months. Very thankful and really appreciate it with that. So thank you. Dave, if you can hang around, once I conclude, if the board have questions, they'll be able to ask. But I have 2 or 3 points that I need to make here very quickly.
Yeah, dude. No, what's there to ask?
Board members, I appreciate Serenity Ebert's comments this morning. Also, I appreciate Kathy's comments that she made this morning here.
What about the guy from out Hollywood, you fuck?
I've just been brought up to speed just yesterday about the situation as the general manager. And I've asked staff to get together and provide some input to me so that I can take a look at it. I will be able to tell you what I have in front of me a bit about. Serenity asked for approval to bring our trike on board our transit vehicles, specifically MAX, in 2017, as she stated. At that time, Serenity was able to use a walker, wheelchair, or scooter to access transit, but she preferred to use her trike. So we TRIMET evaluated the accessibility in March of 2019, and we even had her meet with our ADA personnel at one of the locations to bring it on and do an assessment during that time frame. So at that time, back in March of 2019, staff determined that the trike was too big and it could not readily fit within a designated bike area on MAX, and it really presented a safety hazard for many things that was identified there. So at that time, the request was denied.
How can it not fit on MAX? There's plenty of room on MAX. I mean, maybe it doesn't fit on a bus. I don't know what the size of the thing is, but MAX has got plenty of room. What are you talking about?
Right, because of safety concerns. And and that she was able to still access the system with mobility devices. But let me tell you what I've done. I've asked staff to reach out to Serenity. So she's going to be getting a phone call here to see if a reevaluation is necessary, as the situation to me sounds like it might have changed here. So we're going to be reaching out to her.
Yeah, the king of TRIMET has spoken. All hail the king of TRIMET, who makes all the fucking decisions. One guy. Sickening.
Very, very quickly and soon, and I'll keep all of you apprised on what take place there. Regarding,
notice how poor Sam's use of the English language is. He's not very literate. I've noticed that.
The Broadway cab situation, I know that Eileen Collins is on the phone with us, and I would like to bring her in to address the situation. Eileen?
What situation?
Good morning. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, directors, for allowing me to be here this morning. It is unfortunate that Mr. Walker has had some latency in some late-night trips that he's received through Broadway Cab, specifically on their wheelchair-accessible fleet. It's an issue that we have had Broadway Cab on a care notice regarding, and much like us, they have had considerable challenges.
Where's Ozzy? Ozzy's not here.
That their operators are independent contractors, and they can't specify when or how those folks work. So we've been working really diligently with Transdev, our transportation contractor, to pull as many trips that were historically offered on cab back to our bus service, back to dedicated capacity, back to when we know operators are working and we can confirm that there are no customers left in the community who are unsafe. So while we continue to work with Broadway Cab to increase their operator numbers, we have transitioned Mr. Walker to bus service to ensure that he is safe in the community. I've communicated that with him, and I've been working with him on how that...
Yeah, they're going to make sure you're safe. Government's going to keep us safe, everybody. It's hilarious.
Can work most effectively for him, and he understands the situation that we're in, and he's satisfied with the solution that we've come up with. But ultimately, we still need to continue working with Broadway to increase those wheelchair-accessible vehicle numbers, and we will continue to move in that direction.
All right, so she just talked, and she said nothing. Did you notice that? She didn't say anything. We're going to try to do this. We're going to try to do that. In other words, nothing's going to change.
Thank you, Eileen. President Simmons, my last point I want to say is that we are in a world of unprecedented times. We're charting new waters, new territories. This pandemic is here with us. And
yeah, all created intentionally. Intentional destruction of civil society. All of it. A wealth transfer to the top 1% at the expense of the bottom 90%. All intentional. Okay? Some of us know the score here. We're not stupid. Some of us aren't stupid. Some of us are not susceptible to propaganda techniques.
There is no such thing as normal. There's always a new normal that we're dealing with. But I want to tell you...
Yeah, there's no such thing as cutting your bus service at the exact wrong time, which is what you have just done. Oh, but it's a labor shortage. But we're not going to do anything to really solve it. We're not going to change the incomes. We're not going to change the pay scale. We'll offer you a little bonus if you hire on. No, they won't make any structural changes at all to meet the needs of the so-called pandemic. In other words, they're just lying to you with a straight face, because they haven't done anything to change anything. All they've done is increase their bureaucracy. All the elites stay home, get full pay, while all the citizens suffer. And that's the United States of America right now. We have a two-class society. The small class of elites, like you got, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 TRIMET people, all six-figure salaries, sitting at home, talking on the camera, and then you have all the drivers and mechanics, all the other people actually out in public doing the work. You have the parasites, and then you have the riders, and then you have the workers. These are the parasites.
Or that we have a world-class group of employees that have been here and stuck it through with us and providing service to our public. And I just want to thank all of our frontline, our administrative employees, and our support employees, that we are extremely grateful for you during this time here.
I'm sure.
Please push forward with us And I just want to thank you for your service. With that, President Simmons and Board of
All
Directors.
right, that's enough of this shit. I can't take any more of it. Over now.